Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're uncovering a bizarre, long-nosed cousin of the mighty T-Rex that literally changes everything we thought we knew about apex predators. When we talk about tyrannosaurs, we usually picture one very specific hulking body type. But we're going to completely shatter that image. We're counting down 10 mind-blowing facts about a totally wild discovery, Qianzhousaurus, that essentially rewrites the dinosaur family tree. Seriously, I want you to completely ditch that classic, bulky T-Rex image you grew up with. You know the one, massive head, bone-crushing jaws, built like an absolute tank, right? Well, scratch that. Prepare yourself for a totally different kind of specialized killer. What if that tank-like predator had a cousin built more like a stealthy, high-speed sports car? Because that is exactly what we're looking at here. Paleontologist Dr. Steve Bersati from the University of Edinburgh actually hit the nail on the head. He pointed out that while this creature definitely had that familiar, terrifying, toothy grin of a T-Rex, it totally breaks the mold of everything a Tyrannosaur is supposed to be. It's proof that evolution didn't just churn out one single type of Tyrannosaur. It crafted this incredibly diverse family of killers, all adapted for super specific environments and hunting styles. So let's kick things off with fact number 1. The story of its discovery is just wild. This wasn't dug up by some highly specialized team trekking through a remote desert. Nope. Back in 2010, construction workers were just operating a backhoe in Guangzhou, southern China, digging out a foundation for a totally normal industrial park. Out of nowhere, they struck a patch of 66-million-year-old red rock and inadvertently uncovered a nearly complete dinosaur skeleton. And honestly, thank goodness they didn't just ignore it. They called the local museum right away. It was an absolute stroke of luck that saved one of the most important dinosaur fossils of the entire decade. Moving right along to fact number 2. Let's address the elephant, or I guess the giant nose, in the room. When scientists finally got a good look at this skull, they kind of couldn't believe their eyes. Its face looked almost comical compared to your standard blocky Tyrannosaur, which quickly earned it the amazing nickname Pinocchio Rex. It rocked this incredibly slender snout, all decorated with a row of bumpy little horns right down its nose. But hey, do not let the funny nickname fool you for a second. This was a completely deadly 9-meter-long carnivore. Which brings us to fact number 3. We have to talk about the sheer, jaw-dropping scale of that face. When you actually measure this thing, the skull is nearly 90 centimeters long. And the preorbital snout region, so basically everything in front of the eyes, made up a staggering 70% of its entire head. Think about that. Most tyrannosaurs have those deep, chunky, blocky heads. But Qianzhousaurus, it stretched that anatomy to the absolute extreme. If you compare it directly to the thick, bone-crushing jaws of a standard tyrannosaur, Qianzhousaurus boasted a highly specialized snout that was a full 35% longer than other tyrannosaurs of the exact same size. It just totally ditched that deep U-shaped skull floor of a typical T-Rex and went all in on the shallow, highly aerodynamic profile. All right, fact number 4. This animal wasn't just some weird, long-faced attached to a clunky body. Its entire frame was optimized for a very specific lifestyle. When paleontologists looked at its hind limbs, they found something super fascinating. Its tibia, the shin bone, measured 76 centimeters, making it noticeably longer than its 70-centimeter femur, or thigh bone. And in the animal kingdom, having a shin longer than your thigh is the ultimate hallmark of a runner. It tells us this 9-meter, 757-kilogram beast was incredibly fast, quite literally built to sprint down agile prey over open ground. Let's jump to fact number 5, and it is a shocking visual detail. You kind of have to forget those scaly reptilian monsters from the old movies. Pinocchio Rex was very likely covered in primitive fuzz. We know from exquisitely preserved tyrannosaur cousins found in China, like the famous Yutyrannus and the smaller Dilong, that these predators almost certainly rocked a coat of simple, hair-like feathers. And since it lived in environments that experienced cooler climates, these feathers weren't for flying. They were strictly used to stay warm, pretty much exactly like the fur on a modern mammal. Fact number 6 explores how this thing actually hunted. Because of that long, slender snout, it definitely wasn't using the brute force tactics of its heavier cousins. Advanced biomechanical analysis actually shows its bite was 40 to 60% weaker than a robust Tyrannosaurus. It literally couldn't shatter bone. So instead of using the classic puncture and pull method, Qianzhousaurus relied on its numerous, narrow, blade-like teeth.
It was all about inflicting rapid, slicing and slashing wounds on the soft tissue of its victims, like a surgeon's scalpel rather than a sledgehammer.
Now for fact number 7. Where did it actually fit in the food chain?
You see, any given ecosystem can only support so many massive top predators before they just end up starving each other out. So Qianzhousaurus found a brilliant workaround as a highly specialized mid-tier stealth hunter. It intentionally targeted smaller, much faster prey, things like lizards and feathered oviraptorosaurs. By doing this, it completely avoided competing with the giant 13-meter apex bone crushers like Tarbosaurus, who were busy hunting the massive herbivores. Fact number 8 shows us just how incredibly crowded that ecosystem really was. We're talking about a thriving, highly complex web of life here. Qianzhousaurus lived roughly 66 to 72 million years ago in the lush floodplains of the Nangjiang Formation in China. And what's really amazing is that it shared these exact same rivers and forests with entirely different, robust snouted Tyrannosaurus like Osiotyrannus, as well as local omnivores like Qianzhousaurus. It's perfect proof that these predators figured out how to divide up the ecosystem, hunting completely different prey without ever stepping on each other's toes. On to fact number 9. This dinosaur was part of a very unique evolutionary branch. Qianzhousaurus wasn't just some random one-off freak of nature. It was actually the ultimate culmination of an entire evolutionary lineage known as the Aleorami tribe. This specific tribe split off around 80 million years ago, eventually creating a massively successful dynasty of long-snouted killers that completely conquered Asia. And at nearly 9 meters long, our Pinocchio Rex was the absolute largest and most advanced member of the specialized stealth hunter family. And finally, fact number 10, the sudden, dramatic conclusion to its story. Despite all of those incredible, fine-tuned evolutionary adaptations, their time just ran out in an instant. Qianzhousaurus was a literal doomsday witness. They were surviving and thriving all across Eastern Asia right up until that exact Tuesday morning, 66 million years ago, when a 10-kilometer-wide asteroid slammed into the Earth. The immediate global ecosystem collapse, the plunging temperatures, the ash. It abruptly wiped out Pinocchio Rex right alongside every other non-avian dinosaur. So the really crucial point I want to leave you with is this. Evolution was actively pushing tyrannosaurs into these highly specialized, incredibly fast slicing niches right at the very end. If history hadn't ended so abruptly, if that asteroid had just flown harmlessly past the Earth, would the future of apex predators have belonged to the slow, heavy bone crushers? Or would it have belonged to the sleek, fast, slicing hunters like Pinocchio Rex? It is such a fascinating what-if to think about. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me, and keep questioning the history of our world.